time has come. I'd like to call to order the meeting of Select Board meeting of June 4th. We stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so the first order of business is warrants.
Okay, I'll start if you like. I have a couple of payroll warrants here. The first one is dated March 21st through May 21st through May 27th, and the sum of $16,258.24. Second payroll warrant is May 14th through May 20th, and the sum of $25,913.53. That's it.
Okay. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Okay.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay.
I have the general warrants, June 4th, 18 to June 4th, 18. There were 91 invoices for a total of $73,804.52. The biggest driver was Premier Paving for $28,450. That was 38%. Then another one that really surprised me that caused you a lot of work, Anna, was the tax overpayments.
Refunds, yeah.
There was 25 of the 91 invoices. 25 were overpayments for a total of $8,900.
What happens a lot of times is escrow companies pay, and they're late filers on their state payment, and so the escrow companies, the people that own the homes don't send the revised bills to the escrow companies, so they're still making the full payment.
Yeah, I know one family was over $1,000. That's a lot to pay out, especially if you're scraping to make the payments.
Right, exactly.
That's the total number,
But they
Bill?
need to file on time, and that wouldn't happen.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So all those, any questions? If not, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay. I was too late to get an executive session on the agenda, so I'd just like to let everyone know we're going to have an executive session at the end, hopefully very brief. Okay.
Are we planning on making any decisions?
I hope not, but if we are, they will be made in public session and all duly recorded.
Okay.
So if somebody could do the select board minutes,
I'm happy to do
21st.
happy to do those.
Okay.
I move that we approve the select board minutes of Monday, May 21st, 2018.
Okay, they look all right to me. Anybody have any comments? Questions? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you. All right, moving right along. We now have an infrastructure committee meeting presentation. And you want to introduce Carrie?
I would love to do that. So we have been working with an infrastructure committee appointed by the select board with suggestions from each member around May of last year. It was the end of June that we began having meetings, and we've been meeting since then. So one of our committee members, Richard Cummings, is going to lead us through the presentation. We are hoping to get through the presentation, at least each chapter, and there's 2 of them. Then we'll answer questions at that time. So I'm going to ask Rick to come forward, and I will cue it up. There are copies in the back, printed copies of the presentation.
Get over here where I can
And once we
see
give
the
it,
screen as well.
once we give this, we will put it on our website. It's unfortunately too big for me to email, so I have to view it on our website. And I think Richard's going to lead, but Al and I might chirp in if he needs some help, because we worked on this together.
Please check that. Save me when I need it.
Let's hope it opens.
Uh,
Oh, come on.
Well, we started this committee a year ago, and because the select board had tasked Ms. Johnson to form a committee of community members and select board members and part of the staff from the town to examine the pros and cons of where to relocate both the town Department of Public Works as well as the town hall. So,
Just a question. Are you getting the sound to record this?
I'm recording the sound, yeah.
All right, okay, I'm just wondering.
all right. So, we went back and, well, first off, this committee was composed of Richard Dickinson, Tim Hurlbut, Brent Brigham, Dave Allerton, Alan Mashtar, Anna Borden, Carrie Johnson, Bill Nyon, and Al Vogel, as well as myself, Richard Cummings. We needed to review the current conditions to find out, exactly what do we have out there, what needs to be better, and then ultimately, where can we relocate such facilities to improve the function of our town? One of the studies that we looked at was one that you, the select board, had paid money for, the 2013 study, which analyzed the town, where the people are, where the how things function, how the buildings function, what we're doing with our town public works department on the lake, that sort of thing. And it was kind of surprising to me that of the 13 years that they were examining where construction took place, they found out that 84.3% of all the permits that took place in that 13-year period were in what's called the Central Corridor. And you probably say, well, where is the Central Corridor? It's like west of the Brigham Road, not Brigham Road, west of Bronson Road, down into that area, and then actually east of the interstate, partway up the hill, is considered that corridor. So, so we looked at the uses of the two properties, and we found them to be the property is incompatible with the use that's on the property. If we look at the Department of Public Works, very limited space, and more so than the limited space and the older buildings is that the pollution to the lake, and it's a concern generally in our community that a salt shed should most likely not need to be located on the lake, and should be put in a different spot where we don't add any more pollution. And then when we look at the uses of the town hall here, we find out that it's very hard to improve it to the level that we need, because, well, to begin with, we're on 0.3 acres. We have very limited parking space. Fortunately, we have a small number of community members here tonight that we don't require a lot, but sometimes there are meetings that require a lot more people, and it's hard to find a spot.
So what he meant by, I just want to,
Sure.
on that slide, what we were talking about is initially last June, we weren't sure, there was some suggestions that we put DPW and Town Hall on the same lot. I think that's what you meant by
Yeah, but
incompatible.
We looked at that, and really the function of a town hall and the function of a DPW don't really go together. It's like trying to build a funeral parlor next to a band recital place, they just don't fit. So on the DPW site currently now, it's not centrally located. It's right on the lake, and it has no wash bay or drain filtration system to when they discharge the washes from the trucks or the melt off from the trucks, it goes back into the lake. Has poor water quality as far as the drinking water is concerned, and there's no room for expansion. And it really doesn't allow the department, the director, to keep the department's equipment out of the weather. And it's sometimes difficult to start equipment, and the equipment lasts a lot longer if you can start it with an engine at 50 degrees versus 10 below zero. So we get more life out of the plow trucks and all the equipment that's in there, as well as preserve the finishes and rubber that's on a piece of equipment that sits out in the sun. So we thought if we could provide a building that would satisfy those needs and allow us to get everything out of the elements and inside, it would be better for the town in the long run. Another good bonus to the Brigham Road property is the town already owns it. So it seemed like a logical site to migrate to. So the town, for those that didn't know, and I didn't mention it, the property that we own is on the Brigham Road. That's large enough to handle the Department of Public Works and all of its equipment and room for expansion as well. So I think we provided, what's the next slide, Terry?
The proposed, or the draft site building, elevations for the
Okay.
building.
All right, this will just give you a snapshot of, it's a big, long building with lots of garage doors. Basically, that's what it is. There's really no frills, per se. They're functionally on the inside, it's designed to fit the needs of the department. For instance, the wash bay, the catch basins for sand and oil retention. Equipped with air lines, CO2 evacuation in the building. For instance, when they start up a bunch of trucks, it's time to go out and plow, boys. We have the CO2 extractors, the sensors will come on, fans will come on, louvers will open, and will evacuate all the harmful fumes from the interior of the building. It's got 2,660 square feet of office space, which would provide 3 offices, a training room, women and men's room, restrooms, 13,120 square feet of space for the shop, function for repairs and storage, a wash bay of 1,050 square feet, and kind of a bonus that's in here that doesn't show up on this chart is there's over 2,000 feet of mezzanine for the storage of lighter things that can go upstairs.
Like an open air, open to the shop floor.
Open to the shop, yep.
And fire trucks can be washed.
And fire trucks can be washed as well. And on the inside, we have a water line coming in that can supply water to the fire trucks for the tanker trucks, so they can load up. So, fill and wash. When you go to the gas station, you hit the button, do you want a car wash today? Yes. Get that truck washed. So, I think there's also a site.
Yeah, so the next one, we just put the floor plan. I know
Oh,
it's
the floor
hard.
plan.
It's hard to see, but on this map, the one to the right is the wash bay. The office is on the left-hand side, and inside, obviously, are drive-through bays, so you can store.
Yeah, the upside-down building
I
isn't
know.
really upside down at all.
No, I couldn't get
That would
it
be a
to
little hard to
flick.
get into the garage doors.
Yeah.
But it was for ease of getting out, whoever drew this took shortcuts and made it easier to make other views of the building, so that was the quickest way to get it done. There is a lift inside the building. It's got a permanent area for the mechanic to set up all his tools, lubricants, oil, all the things that you need in a truck repair garage.
Site plan?
And there's the site plan. This one's a little different than any site plan you may have seen before. The road comes in from the side that represents the tannish orange line, the lighter of the two colors there. And that was to preserve a larger site in the front of the building for future use by others. You can see we have on there the darker color, the orangish brown, is the one on the left is for the town garage, and the one on the right is for the salt shed. So this is a drive-through garage where they can drive in one side and out the other if they wish, or to move equipment. There's all kinds of equipment stored in the building. It's just chock full of everything the town owns.
This slide we put on there just for reference. I'm not sure if people know where the Brigham lot is. On this spot, everyone is aware of the railroad and the train, all the tracks near Brigham. This is just north of that. So on this map, you'll see a dot. It says 192 Brigham. Roughly that land that is here, that same piece of property that's in the middle.
Point to that dot.
Could you point to the dot?
Yeah, I know.
Al can point to the dot.
Okay.
I didn't want to cause too much of a wait. So, right at the end of the word that says road and Brigham Road, that's roughly where we're talking about locating this.
Right here is on the larger map, and when to the other map. And that's the same red dot here.
Yep. And so if you can just, on this map, you know where we're roughly we're siting it?
So right about here.
That's correct.
So we moved the building from our last meeting?
No.
No, well, we moved it a little bit east, but roughly it was there. We moved it from the previous request for this project about 3 years ago, though. 3 years ago, it was very close to Brigham Road.
Oh, I was talking about our last meeting.
Oh, yeah, no, we didn't have that on the site yet. So that was just we'd move it a little bit to the right. You ready?
I'm ready. Fire away. We're working on the estimates for the building. We have those in at 1.8. That's all inclusive. The site work is still being worked on, and the salt shed, Alan has made some headway with the salt shed, but really the numbers need to be nailed down somewhat better than they are right now. What we're asking the select board in this case is, we're making a recommendation to you that you accept this as a site to relocate the Department of Public Works on, and that I know people are going to have questions about how we're going to pay for this, and we can save that for when they ask the questions, I guess. And that is it for the
First part.
Department of Public Works, the first part.
So, I want to add something to this. It wasn't mentioned in here that we took a shot at this a couple of years ago, trying to get this through to the voters on the same location. And one of the things that's been done is some of the site prep has been done. There's been a lot of perk testing, soils testing, and everything at this location to determine what the subsurface was like, and if it was going to be adequate for this, and that's all been done. So that's a cost that's behind us too.
Fortunately, we have the same engineer that we
That's
had
great.
before, only works for a different company now.
Fantastic,
We have him working on it.
great. And the first thing I wanted to say was to thank you guys for the hard work you've done. You've done some good work, and we appreciate it. I'm not opposed at all to that site.
Do we still end up with our 10 acres there?
Yeah.
The 10 acres that we originally wanted, we didn't
we were asked by a potential buyer.
Mm-hmm.
Did we change because of that? Did we relocate because of that?
No,
No,
No, I mean, we haven't actually drawn on a map where those 10 acres are. We will do that to suit us and then get back to those other people with what.
As long as we get what we want.
Correct. Yep.
I don't care about some potential.
Yep.
The
No, I know
priority,
that.
the priority was, what do we need and where do we need it?
Yes.
That's right.
the other thing
That's
is,
the other guy, whatever else is available.
Correct.
So I would say right now, just on the building itself, you are $500,000 less than what got
I asked
rejected.
Carrie today, I says, what was the price on the other building? Because I wasn't even trying to work with those numbers at all. I was just trying to start.
Well,
from
there it
scratch.
is right there. It was
That
2.482.
doesn't include the parking lot or the salt shed, so you gotta keep that in mind.
This was just the building also.
Well, that didn't,
I think it had
site
some
work in
other
it.
things in it, but not.
That had
think you-
everything but the salt shed.
yeah,
Salt
Correct.
shed was another motion.
Well, salt shed
was
we
like
had,
250,000.
but we had money for the salt shed and some other accounts. That's what we had proposed last
Yeah.
time.
So that was, site where everything was at
Yes,
2.5,
yes.
so.
Yep.
So this 1.8 will go up, no doubt.
Yes.
Well, unfortunately,
Steel.
we've had, I just had another price increase on the May 31st, I believe it was. But I had my last price increase, and since October, that would be the fourth price increase since October. And it's incremental, like they chew at it, 4%, 6%, 8%. But those are just construction numbers. Construction generally has, the rate of increase has way outpaced the cost of living increase. I mean, if we're dealing with a 2% or 2.7 cost of living increase, construction is going up 10 or 15% in some categories per year. And that was before the economy picking up steam.
I had contractors bid on work for me, and 6 months ago, a year ago, they would hold their prices for 90 days.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. You could be lucky if you could hold them for 30 days now.
Well, I took a look at the town hall proposal from 2013, and that would have to be adjusted about $500,000 more than it was from 2013.
Well, like I said, I'm certainly not opposed to this location, but we still have some work to do on the price though.
Yes, we do.
And we have a lot of work to do because I think it's our goal to get this to the voters in the November, on a November ballot.
That's it. That's the recommendation.
We as well would like to see that.
Richard, quick question.
Sure.
All inclusive, I jotted that down when you said it, for that 1.8 million, is there a broad stroke of what that does include? Does that include the concrete, or is that gonna be part of the site work?
Nope, that's it includes all the excavation for the building itself.
Okay.
But not beyond the, 8 feet beyond the building.
Right.
All the structural fill that needs to be put in, all the, all the underground work for associated items like plumbing, your floor drains, that sort of thing, that's all included. We have a hot water boiler that's going to produce all the heat we need for the radiant floor.
That'd be great for the
But
trucks.
we also have two 320,000 BTU modine style heaters. So when all these doors are open and we're evacuating all these fumes, we can at least bring the garage up to a decent temperature reasonably quick. It's not going to be instantaneous, but just because if you're going to wait for a radiant floor, it takes a while for that heat to migrate back into the room again. So.
Right. No, that's great.
But it goes on. We have like mini splits. No, you don't have a mini split in here. Where did I see a mini split? In the town clerk's office?
I'm not sure what a mini
Describe what a
split
mini
is.
split
Well,
is.
instead of having the central air, it's just got individual air
Oh, I
conditioners
see.
that run off a
But we don't
small-
have HVAC anywhere here, so.
Well, it
that
runs
would-
off a small compressor outside, a scroll compressor.
Right.
Oh.
Condenser, yeah.
And it
Okay,
it
okay.
changes its RPM depending on the load, and they're very, very efficient.
Oh, excellent.
Almost twice as efficient as machines used to be like 15 years ago.
I know we've hinted on this a couple times, but to come right out and say it, if we are at that target number from 2015
Right.
or lower, that's a substantial cost reduction in real dollars year on year.
Let's throw a little caution out there because we're not done pricing this yet.
Right, but
Yeah.
if we do come in within that range, it's actually it's a cheaper project than what, you know.
If we give approval to move forward on this, and we know we all want it, is now a good time to ask the city for water and sewer?
Well,
You're not answering for the city, are you?
No, but I am. If you did read your memorandum that we were supposed to read for today, it says clearly and distinctly that the city will not charge the town for its municipal facilities.
We had that
Perhaps.
understanding last time.
Pardon?
We had that understanding last time somewhat. It wasn't nothing written in ink, but
I think we were gonna ask for that when we actually went through zoning, but, I mean, we could ask for it.
Why don't we ask for it today?
Sure.
I mean, we could next, we just didn't wanna get ahead of ourselves and start doing those things.
I don't think we're
If
getting
we
ahead of
fail,
ourselves.
so what? At least we got that piece done.
So for this
No, we
project.
can do that going forward.
And you know why I'm saying it now. Okay, that's the reason. I don't want to publicly say it, but everybody knows.
What? When we just
Enlighten us.
Come on, Tim, fill us in.
just a bookkeeping question, if we greenlight this and we start spending some actual dollars in permitting and engineering, where would, have we picked a fund where do we want to pull those?
We're not gonna start spending money
No.
for this
No,
project
no, we
before
gotta
we
go.
get.
Election.
Whatever we spend and whatever fund it comes from will have to be approved by the voters.
Right.
So we're a little ahead of
Well, if we
ourselves.
were talking about
Right.
permits.
In their
not yet.
documentation, this infrastructure company, not company, but
Committee.
committee, they indicated in one of the earlier meetings that nothing would be spent until it went townwide to the voters. No money spent until it goes townwide.
It's gonna-
Let me just add one more thing. We have a major thank you to Rick Cummings for all the work that he has done for us without costing the town 1 cent or mill.
That's right. You couldn't have done it without
We're gonna
him.
name it after him. Our city.
No, it's something I enjoy doing, so.
Tim?
Maybe I'm speaking out of line.
Okay, Tim Hilburn, introduce yourself to the camera.
Oh, Tim Roma.
Make a commercial
Your
now.
fans.
No.
And Stan, I am on the committee. Did you ask me to stand?
Please, yes, please.
You can, that would be great.
Most interesting man in America.
We talked about not spending any money, but are we on phase 1 or phase 2 here?
Phase
That's where I
one.
walked
Phase
in
1.
late.
This is phase one, the DPW building only. I think we are gonna talk about that for the town hall and the next chapter
The next chapter in this
of this
meeting?
presentation.
Okay. Okay. I just want to make, somehow, if we get into this contract, if we ever get into a contract, you need the deposit for the contract.
You do, yes, that's fair, yes.
Just saying.
Not for
I mean,
DPW.
I think from a practical point of view, as we go forward, you start looking at making applications, there are going to be some miscellaneous expenses
That's right.
associated with that. So from an accounting perspective, they would be accumulated in some kind of an investment account for this project, and then
Right.
that would be melded in with all the costs as we go forward. So that's,
And the other thing is that my major concern is getting DPW ready for the voters in November.
you know,
That was chosen as our number one priority on our priority list. So,
Bruce, I remind you that has to be done by September.
yes. So we don't have a lot of time.
No, we don't have a lot of time, and to his point, to Brendan's point, we probably wouldn't be doing a lot of other permitting. We're gonna make sure the prices are accurate, and we're gonna have some public meetings to explain our project
Yeah.
in
So
July and August.
so at the moment, you want the select board to say, let's go ahead with this project.
Yes,
And what that's going to entail is some engineering work, it's going to be
Some more investigating. yes.
investigating, eventually putting out
What all
RFPs.
the alternatives are, what what the pitfalls are,
And then going for quotes with a view to,
then
Put it-
finding out
put it-
exactly what the cost is going to be and going to the voters.
So you want me,
we're determined to get it on the November 6th ballot.
Right.
so you want me to make a motion?
Well,
Wait, good question before you make motion. Where did the money come from for Trudell?
came out of our engineering,
Just under town manager, engineering
We
consulting.
have a few bucks left there, do we?
We do have some.
Enough to spend that?
It should be on the expense side, on your revenue sheet, or expense sheet.
Yeah, we got it here.
We also have a couple other sources we could tap for that too, if, say, we were $2,000 or $4,000 short.
you know,
But
I think we should, instead of looking to tap it for the
We've
expenses,
overspent that. I mean,
you want to accumulate it somewhere. I mean,
Yeah,
I know for accounting purposes.
that one's over for this year. We don't want to go any further over.
No, I
but-
think we could make a motion to create that account you're talking
Well, I
about.
mean,
Yeah.
To dump everything in, we'll
Well,
pay for
yeah,
it later through the capital.
From a cash perspective, it's going to go against budget items, but you make some adjustments and put that into
From the net.
another
yeah.
account, so that would be all part of it. However we want to make this motion. Just,
Ready?
that's more or less what I was.
so we want to, we need a motion to,
We have some, I think, but we'd love your support, but I'd like Ann and I to sit down and talk. We had some DPW accounts the last time we were talking about expanding. They were just for Department of Public Works, and so I think we could use some of those funds, at least propose that to you. That we create a separate account, but that the source of the funds might be from one of those other DPW.
how we fund it in the interim
Okay.
is less critical than the fact that you have the authorization to do something
You're correct.
and to
yeah.
identify the use of those funds
Fair enough.
with the view to expediting this thing, moving it forward quickly.
So I think if we did get together and got back to you
Yeah.
on the fund issue, the next meeting, that would be quick enough.
Sure. I mean,
Because we do have other accounts.
I think at the end of the day, what everybody is committed to is that the voters will have their say.
Right,
Yeah, and that we're as
And
transparent as
if they
possible.
don't
Oh, yeah.
approve any of it, we're going to be having to
right.
squeeze ourselves dry and make up for those expenditures. Okay.
We have a
So you ready?
budget
Okay,
account, I mean,
okay.
yeah.
So,
Do you want to make a motion, Bruce?
yeah, what I'd like to do is make a motion to give the Infrastructure Committee authorization to move forward with the DPW project. So that it meets all the criteria that we need to put before the voters on November 6th. Okay?
Okay, anybody have other comments or additions or whatever? Anybody from the board?
Nope.
Anything from the committee?
Anybody from the committee audience have a question? If not, then I'd ask a vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Before we move on, I'd like to introduce, we have Dave Allison here, who's a member of the committee. When you stand up and look at the camera and wave so they know you are, right?
Hi, Dave.
Okay, and we have Dr. Dickinson, also a member of the committee.
Sir.
Dick, you can wave, and you can, like Tim, you can put a commercial out there. Okay, and of course, Alan Mastier, our PW Public Works Director, is here as well.
And Anna was on that.
Anna,
I was
yeah,
on
okay.
it.
Bill,
Carrie is on the committee.
I don't need to
Alan
stand.
Jones.
Alvo Gell's on the committee. God, I feel left out.
Well, yeah, we have too many selectmen on it already, right? Okay. Okay, with that, it becomes our second, is it our second or third priority for our town plan?
Second.
Our second priority is to start getting things going for the eventual
Municipal office.
municipal office building, whether it's an update or a new building
Right.
altogether. Okay,
So we were given the task of researching the best site we could find to locate the town, having concluded that the town, as much as we love this old building and we love its historical significance, it just doesn't work anymore. Nor will it work 10 years from now, 15 years from now. It's time for a change, as much as we hate to leave the old girl, but we gotta do it. So I'm asking you, tonight, to just for a few minutes, put any preconceived notions that you had in your mind about, you know, where to put the town hall, and just listen to the presentation and, you know, form your opinion. Hopefully, it's an opinion that we can all agree on, and go through it with us, you know, what we have to offer. So you can see what we did to get to this point today. So we started off by asking Anna for a list of properties in the town that would be 10 acres or more that we could locate. We're trying to think of not just the town hall, we're trying to put the town in a position so from years from now, when we discover that we need our own police department, we've got a place to put a police department. When we discover that we need a satellite fire station because of, you know, being on the other side of the railroad tracks, in case there's a railroad emergency, the fire department cannot respond to one side of the tracks or the other. So we're looking at a property that's big enough to hold a satellite fire station, which is not part of our proposal today, and a possible police department, which is also not a part of this proposal, but we're trying to be foresighted enough to see down the road of what could happen, so we don't end up with a piece of property of 0.3 acres with no parking and no handicapped accessibility. So that was kind of the starting point for us. And you all know that Anna's crowded for vault space. And in the end of January, I had a conversation with Anna, and she says, I've got room for 48 months worth of file books to put in the vault. After that, and I said, well, how often do you, it takes a month to fill up a book, roughly. So she had 48 slots left on her shelves. And so now I think 5 of those months have gone by. We're now into the 6th month, so Anna is running out of space. So that's very important that we have the proper space for that. It's the paperwork, and it's just getting incredible. The original documents that have to be saved. As we know, it's not centrally located, it has insufficient parking, and really our septic tank is this little square thing out here in the yard. It looks like a sandbox for kids.
But it's legal.
But it's illegal, yeah. And again, we don't, we have potable water limitations, and it's not ADA accessible. So, going back to that plan in 2013, it was $1.7 million, I think it's around 1.7, 1.8, just to refurbish this building to get it in nearly suitable condition. So we decided to go out and find, as charged by the select board, to find the best spot we could to relocate this facility. And we started off with 28 parcels, and we quickly weaned it down to 13 parcels. These 13 we really scrutinized under a microscope, and we set up a chart to evaluate how much of the criteria each of these properties successfully met. So we developed a scoring system, and every one of the members filled out a scoring sheet on each one of these properties. And when we added up the totals, we found out immediately, there was no question about it, which were the top scorers and which ones needed further scrutiny. And we ended up weaning it down from 13 to 7. And of those 7, we weaned that one down some more, and we ended up with 3 for the semifinalists. So the investigation took place to talk to these 3 people to find out what the price was, availability, to try to get an idea of what the permitting issues might be for each particular site. And we, at that point, had whittled it down to 1. But just to give you an idea, the map that you see up there
I just hit my mistake.
on the screen has got those blue dots on it, at least I think they're blue.
They are navy blue, trying.
Okay,
There's 7 of them.
those are the 7 that we really scrutinized. You can see it's at the both the north and the south end of town. The north end of town is more commercial rather than residential, and it fits fewer people's needs of being convenient, as opposed to the south end, which is more towards the centroid of population in our town. So we ended up, of the 3 lots that we were really boring into, we ended up with one of them owned by the Ingleside Equity Group, near the intersection of Route 36 and 104. It's really at the head of Weldon Street. So that property, I think,
I have a couple. This one just shows you the outline of the lot. And then this one shows you the lot we were talking about and the conceptual idea of where we were going to put the town hall.
And that was 10 acres?
That is about, yes.
yes, 10 acres.
The only thing not showing on here is there's a right-of-way that Al's going to point to 36 between the substation and that bigger building there with the white roof.
There's a right of way from here right to 36.
To 36, yes. Main entrance and exit for most
So-
people would be that other road.
The question is, what about the power?
Yep.
So we have, you want to follow up on that?
We have an agreement with the property owner that he would like to move the power all the way back to the interstate, and we agreed that a favorable position for us and for him, because the power line is 100 feet wide, and that really messes up a lot of construction that you might want to do. So he's willing to move that back. We originally selected along our property line, taking 50 feet on our side and 50 feet on the adjoining landowner, and nobody really loses anything because of setbacks and all. But he'd like to bring it back even further so we get the full benefit of our property that way. We have water and sewer that's accessible in 2 locations, actually 3 locations. Let me go from right to left. We've got water and sewer located on Route 36, right where Alan's finger is pointing, right in that area. And we could easily bring that across, although the structures are somewhat limited, what we can do with them. And then we have another source for water and sewer off of Upper Weldon Street, which we would most likely have to pump the sewage into a manhole about 100 yards down Upper Weldon Street. And water is across the road at that first building on the corner of Weldon and Route 104. It's right at the top of the page. Right there, yep. This is the water, there's a fire hydrant there, and we could tap onto that, bring it across the road. So the owner of the property says, I'd really prefer you get your water from down by Maple Fields instead. We said, fine, as long as it doesn't cost us any more money than it would have had we gone and did it our way. And he agreed to that.
And the difference is that line near Maple Fields is gravity fed, the other 2 we'd have to have a pump station.
Pumps, yep.
So long term,
So it'd be water, sewer, both.
Water, sewer, both.
yes. So I mean, it's a detail we can work out, but just in case somebody was going to ask.
Okay. So I know there's questions on people's minds. Like right now, we're being inundated with traffic that's being diverted from Main Street for all the construction that's going on right now. It's diverted to everything from County Road on up to Route 104 on the other side, that side of town. So right now, the state of Vermont doesn't feel that the intersection at Weldon, excuse me, Alan.
Could you, just before we move on into the Ingleside property and those problems, mention the other two properties. We
Oh,
had three
okay.
sites.
Yeah, there was a small site on Upper Weldon Street, just west of the building that's on the corner. But that wasn't 5 acres, was it, Alan?
No, I think it was
No,
somewhere.
some of it had some
I
some
think he's talking about the
Gift.
three sites, the,
Yeah, the
Near
three-
exit
the
19.
three semifinalists.
yeah.
yes, near
So one
exit.
was on Upper Weldon, and it was
Too
pretty
small.
small.
Yeah.
But we could fit just a
Municipal hall.
municipal building on it. And then there was another site that theoretically is big enough. That was a little over 8 acres, wasn't it? And unfortunately, with the wetlands and the power line, you only had about 2.5 to 3 acres that you could develop.
That was on the corner of 105 and 36.
Opposite side of 30.
Yeah.
104.
104 and 36.
104.
This property here.
Yeah. Yeah,
The
exactly.
other side,
And
the other side.
No,
and it was,
no.
No, it was
he's
on
right.
that side.
He's right, yeah.
All right, okay, yeah.
Across
Yeah,
from
yeah,
the
yeah.
Crossroads Plaza.
and it was quite pricey too at 1.2.
Just on that topic, at least all 23 properties can certainly be viewed by anybody who wishes to look at what was
Absolutely.
evaluated. So
Yep.
they know what was done and who did it and when and where and why.
And our survey
Absolutely.
results.
Yeah.
And the criteria we use to evaluate them.
Yeah.
I mean, I even have everyone's,
Excuse me.
even though the committee hasn't seen it, I have everyone's tallies.
Yeah, right, okay.
Ingleside Equity Group has offered to, should we decide that we want to buy 5 acres of land, he offers, well, first, let me back that up. The offer first was, I will donate 5 acres of land for you to put your new town offices on this property. If you want to purchase 5 more acres to meet your 10-acre criteria, I will sell you 5 more acres for a total of 10 for $50,000 more per acre. So it's $250,000, which is basically the price of one small lot. We can get any amount of land that we need for any future development for years from now. If maybe someday we decide we want some kind of a community center or a civic center, we've got the room to do it. So, having said all that, we're asking the select board to consider this and consider that we enter into an agreement to purchase after we have had a chance to complete our discovery process with the permitting, find out exactly what we need, and get back to you at the end of all that process and ask for the actual closing to take place, should we come to that point. So we'd like to not put this on with the next, at the same vote election that you're planning on having this November, but to wait till the following town meeting day or later. But it's something, please don't wait a long time as prices keep going up. And what we really need to do, and we're begging you to do, is to secure this property for a very reasonable price. And continue our due diligence until we solve all the unknowns, and then come back to you and ask you to give it your blessing. You know, that sounds like something we could use and need, and the prices are right. So that's what we're asking tonight. Any questions?
I got a question. If we were to decide just to take 5 acres, okay, would that be the 5 acres that he's gifting to us?
Yes.
And there would be no charge whatsoever?
Well, the charge is, no charge for the land cost, yes.
No charge for land costs. So if we said, okay, thank you very much, but, you know, right now, all we can afford is the 5 acres, we just want to build on 5, so he would gift us 5 acres for no land cost.
Yes.
Okay. Second thing is when we talk about a fire station, I've been on the planning commission, I've been on the select board here for a few years now, and whenever we talked about a fire station, we talked about a fire station on the north end of town, because we don't need 2 fire stations on the south end of town. we would need that coverage on the north end of town.
That could be done.
And I think that I'd like to, bring that up as a point for a possible fire station on the north end.
For tonight, Bruce, if I may, for tonight's discussion, we're not really asking to put a fire station there. We're
Okay.
just trying to have the foresight
Okay,
to see what
okay, gotcha,
could happen, and we
Could be
would like to
gotcha.
prepare for that, and not 20 years from now say, oh man, we really should have purchased that land, we could use it
Mhm.
now.
Does that second 5 acres give us the access to exit on 36?
Yes, it does. The first 5 does not. And keep in mind, the first 5 is going to be used for stormwater, infrastructure, it's got to come in that way. And the power line would still have to be moved because the slope on the front half of that lot has got a generous slope, and it's difficult to build on. So by moving the power line, you can get the town hall up more on the knoll, the top of the knoll of the.
You can't build on our power line to begin with.
That's true.
Correct.
You
And
can't build
100-foot
within
right-of-way.
No,
Yep,
certain
we know.
feet.
it's 100-foot right away.
Either
you gotta
side of
stay
it.
out of it.
Okay,
You can put a parking lot under it, and that's about
New
it.
parking lots, yep.
Yep.
That's it. So
so what are you asking the select board tonight? What's your-
We're asking you to okay to enter into a signed contract with a $2,500 deposit to engage with the landowners of the Ingleside Equity Group and to continue to investigate this, to prove that this is the right spot for us that you all can agree to.
Do we need to enter a contract with him to continue to investigate it?
Well,
I mean,
I
it's not
was-
like we have,
do you need to? No. You
Okay.
don't need to. Should we? Yes, because things change, times change,
Prices change.
prices change. Members on his equity group could decide, "Oh, we don't want to deal with the town.
But
I mean, we've done all this investigating and costs attached to it, and then we have nothing.
okay, but entering an agreement with him in a contract when we don't know the true cost of construction yet, in my opinion, is not a good idea.
But you're just purchasing the land, you're just purchasing the land.
You're just doing the land, just like you did on Brigham Road. You bought the
Oh,
land.
nope,
Well,
what we
no,
did on Brigham
I
Road,
think, hold on just one second. You're not talking, you're talking, the deposit is for an option to buy,
Right.
not,
We want to buy and give us time to analyze the cost basis
Yes,
of what's
final-
going to happen.
get the
What are the
feasibility.
parameters that we have to build under? To get exact numbers on it, so we can then make the decision. But we'd like to secure the land, so at least it's nailed down, something we can hang our hat on, depend on it, that when we finish our due diligence, and if everyone agrees, then the property's ours.
couldn't we do the same thing by asking for a first right of refusal?
I don't know.
Wait, just let me just,
Tie it up.
why don't we get some free legal advice here?
You could tie it up with an option. What we're talking about is having it available there if X conditions are met. You see it all the time, commercial and residential real estate, you make the conditions that we can build a structure for under X million dollars. You can get the permit for under Y. Now, that's getting a little bit more intricate than I think that was contemplated, but it's a conditioned contract saying, if we meet these conditions, the voters approve it.
Yeah, that's gonna be part of it.
Then we have the legal right to buy it. And
But
it
not the
locks it up.
obligation, but if we don't meet the conditions, we don't have the obligation.
That's right.
Okay.
That's how most contracts work.
So if we don't meet the conditions, if we met the conditions and changed our minds, what's our obligation?
If we met the conditions, who changed their mind?
We changed their minds. Although we met the conditions, we can't build for some
It's a
reason.
breach of contract, so the other side would have the abilities, if it's a normal situation, to sue you.
See, that,
Yeah,
Well-
but you work, that, every day, Bruce, contracts are entered into that way. people don't say, I'm gonna buy this house, they're gonna, if you wanna put it in residential terms. You gotta, you gotta, financing is a condition precedent usually.
Sure.
You've got, as an analogy, you've got inspections and things, and these are just, in the commercial side, they're just, what are the conditions that would, allow the town to buy this, and that's basically what you're discussing. And so it locks it in.
But, Tim, the only thing I'm asking is, can't we do the same thing just by entering an agreement on a first right of refusal without obligating the town?
If
Same
the
thing.
seller would do that.
Yeah, it's not the same thing, because you don't give money on a first right of refusal.
I mean, if by chance somebody came up with an offer, usually a first right of refusal, you've gotta buy it if there's someone else in line.
Sure.
But an option would work. We've been talking more a contract, and I think a contract's doable. Again, you see it all the time, but I understand your concern.
What concerns me is if for some reason, and all kinds of things happen in this world, if for some reason we were to meet all the conditions, but there was something that prevented us from buying that, I would not want to put the town in a position where they're open for a lawsuit.
Or we just lose our deposit.
You'd lose your
$2,500.
You're right in the damages
No.
section there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what, usually you lose that automatically, and we could write it up that way, and they don't have any other recourse if the other side would agree.
I think it's best that it be written that way.
All right.
Bruce, I see what you're saying, and I appreciate that. But think of it also, that we're going to invest the money for exploring this proposition. We're gonna have far more than $2,500 invested in the exploration. And it'd be a shame to have that, all that money into that exploration and not be able to perform, to finalize it. So
Richard.
for $2,500, it just,
Well, we had the same situation with the Brigham property. I'm not gonna mention any names or any companies. But a company came forward to us and wanted the property. But first of all, what they wanted to do is obtain all their permits and get their construction costs before they obligated themselves to the town on purchasing the property. And because we didn't have anybody standing behind them wanting a property or anything, we did that on knowing exactly what you just got done saying. You know, the cost of the burden was on them. If they want to go out and get all the permits and get everything that they need without giving us a deposit or anything, then fine, let them do it. The cost is on them, not on us.
But we gave them a time frame.
Well, we did give them a time frame.
Exclusive, so.
So it's the same thing as the first right of refusal is what we did.
No, we obligated ourselves to entertain what they wanted to do if they,
We
in
did,
that timeframe.
we did not ask them to sign a contract, and we did not take any money from them.
I think though there's,
Sorry, Dick.
This group is also donating $250,000 worth of land. So what our committee thought, maybe it was in the due diligence of the committee, maybe we should be a little more assertive and have a $2,400 contract.
If we can have a contract written where we give a $2,500 deposit, and we can write a contract that states that the town is not liable for any lawsuits whatsoever, if something is to go south, I would agree with it.
He's cranking on the
Or get it out of my way then. Simple as that.
I will say that
Bruce, I'm sorry, I was distracted. I'm sorry, Brenda. Can you repeat like the last phrase?
I said, what I said is that if we can come up with a contract that does not hold the town liable,
Oh, yeah.
then I'd be willing to go along with it. I don't want to see the town liable. I don't.
Would you be willing to accept the limit of our loss at the $2,500 down payment?
Let the $2,500 down payment go away.
Yeah.
I just don't want to put us in a position where somebody can sue us for $25 million.
I don't
Well,
think
yeah,
that would ever happen.
Anyway.
liability,
Hypothetically.
the value of the property. But remember, that 2,500 is in our minds, the committee's mind, I think. I don't think that was discussed with anybody else, or was it?
no.
well, the Ingleside group,
Did they did?
they've seen
I've seen drafts of the
proposal
contract.
For 2,500,
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, that's pretty light down payment, in my opinion.
It's late,
It's
but we've got a long
10%.
ways to go here too.
Let me,
Long ways to go.
The idea is this would start the ball really
I just-
rolling, but rolling not as fast as the Public Works.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, they're
All
two
right.
different balls and two different
Right.
slopes
Yes.
of hill.
Yes,
Right,
yes.
okay.
Public Works is on a fast run, and
Right.
we're just kind of like making plans.
But what the committee also found out is $250,000 for 5 acres of commercial land that's accessible to water and sewer. It's pretty good.
and natural gas, right?
It's a reason.
Good price.
Natural
natural
gas
gas.
as well.
I've done some research on that too, and that's not, that's
Okay.
mediocre, it's not.
It's
What?
not mediocre.
For 10 acres of
Can I
land.
give you some
5 acres, we're
examples?
not saying 10.
I mean, look at what
I've looked at some examples, I can show you some examples.
I'm sure you
I,
could.
I need, can I please, I've been yielding for,
Well, I paid, when I built my building, I think I paid $110,000 for a tenth of an acre back 15 years ago.
Boy, who charged you that much?
Well, I mean,
I'm telling, right,
Way
okay.
more than that.
And I thought it was a very fair deal, so I mean, we're talking 5 acres,
Yeah.
$250,000.
if you wanna look at the property
Right.
across the street, that had a $1.2 million price tag for a total of like 2 or 3 developable
2.5 to
acres.
3 acres.
You look
of
at, you look
land.
at 2 pieces of property on that street right now that have been for sale for almost 5 years, haven't sold yet, so.
I mean, we get property transfers in my office, so if you wanted raw land, you could certainly
Yeah,
see the
okay.
prices.
I've said enough.
I will say that,
So the whole discussion now hinges on whether the select board would endorse a
25.
$2,500 deposit.
Who asked, did Ingleside ask for it, or did we offer? Did the committee offer?
Ask for what, the contract?
2,500.
2,500.
Oh,
That was subjectively put in there, I think.
Who asked?
It's not really clear.
I don't recall.
You know,
I think I got the, I wrote up the draft, and I just put $2,500 in.
Tim, I want to make it perfectly clear, I'm not concerned about the $2,500. I'm concerned about the bottom line, the end of it. All I want to do is protect the town 9 ways to Sunday.
By the same token, Bruce, Bruce, the same token, we have to spend over $90,000 just to get the permits.
That's,
And you wanted us to get the permits before we bought the property.
yeah.
So we've accommodated you. I don't think we should go and say we can't make a better deal to
Al,
make sure
listen,
we have that
I'm not gonna
property
sit
until
here
we
and
have that
argue with
property
you.
under our belts for the future of the town.
You know, you can say anything you want. My bottom line is to protect the taxpayers of this town, and that's all I want to do.
That's
We're
what we
trying.
all wanna do.
Now, clearly, if we don't get the permits, we won't be able to go
Right.
forward.
Right.
We wouldn't
Correct.
be able to meet the conditions precedent.
So the one that, the 1.2 million that Brendan quoted, was that all permitted?
no,
No.
no,
Was anything that we looked at?
It was
that-
somewhat permitted, I'm sorry. It was, it did have some.
That was permitted?
It had some permits on
Some,
it.
yeah.
It has what, a fair amount of wetland.
Correct. Those were some of
And
the
a-
permits.
And slope gradient. On
And there
the
was
other
a-
side of the power line was kind of hard to,
And there was only one ingress and egress, wasn't there?
yes.
it had a wetland through the center of the property.
Yeah.
Power line.
They divided it in half, and then you
Okay.
had your
You gotta
buffers.
stay 50 feet from the wetland.
Yeah.
And then there was the question whether they filled it legal.
Well, that's, we don't want to go into that, so let's,
Let-
anyway.
Bruce, let me give you an idea on value. On my little business park that I have, I've got 10 sites to build on. The Union Bank paid $320,000 for less than an acre of land. And they pitched in 50% of the left-hand turning lane, which cost $120,000. So they paid $380,000 for about 0.3 acres, or less than, probably even less than that, but it's tiny, tiny, tiny. They are getting the benefits of the condominium with spillover parking and their stormwater and offset water is all taken care of, and the water and sewer, fire hydrants, everything's in. They're getting all those advantages, and water allocations. Now, I still have water allocations paid for.
You're talking a shovel-ready lot.
Shovel-ready lot.
You're
So
one
that's
heck of
what-
a salesman.
That's, but I can tell I'm not convincing you.
No,
I just
I
wish
agree with you, Richard, I
Please open your
understand.
mind
Okay,
to
so-
Yeah.
the thought of, this is really a good deal. I mean,
I'm not saying that it isn't.
I think they're very, very generous. Ingleside Group is so generous to offer this to us.
But isn't also in that contract, if we don't build by a certain point in time, it reverts
Okay.
back to Ingleside?
Okay, listen.
Move this forward.
I'm gonna do this for you, because you're such a good salesman, all right?
Oh, my word.
I'm gonna make a motion that we allow, that the town gives the Engelbert, what do you call it?
Infrastructure committee?
Ingleside,
That the
Timeout.
infrastructure committee, we allow you to sign a contract and give the $2,500 deposit. Okay?
That's very nice.
At some point, before we take a vote, we got a survey coming up, and it's run by UVM with some good data points in it that to an engineering mind will be, say, yeah, this is pretty much gonna happen. If they're not happy with, do we have in there the survey about what site we were looking at, or we have nothing?
I don't think we put any, well, we're gonna discuss that actually after this part of the agenda, but we put something in there about DPW and the old
And
site.
then your question specifically, it wasn't about a site, it was a question of the concept of moving.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
Okay,
right.
not a site,
Yeah.
not site specific.
Well, both.
Okay,
We're gonna get some negative
okay.
feedback on site choice, I know that. It's guaranteed.
But
Hopefully,
fortunately,
Right.
the majority of the population can think clearly, leave their dislike hat at the door when they come in to vote.
No prejudices, please.
Right.
Open-minded.
Okay.
Al, you have a comment?
Yes, just to the motion. I don't think we're asking to have the authority to sign a contract, but to negotiate a contract to bring back to the select board to prove.
Say it however you want, Al,
Okay.
go ahead and get the contract, give them the $2,500.
Okay, so. Okay, any other comments?
I mean, we,
What's the motion gonna be?
Basically, to authorize the, go forward, putting together a contract, and we'll provide the $2,500.
$500 deposit.
Which ultimately will come out of the building cost account.
Correct.
So we don't get into that issue.
But we would want them to okay the contract. We don't want to sign.
Well, we haven't got
Yeah,
a
they can
final,
bring the
yeah.
We're not asking you to approve it.
No, you guys do it, and if it's a contract with the town, in this case, we would have to approve it, I suppose.
Now, wait a minute here.
What,
I say, if it's a contract obligating the town,
We
even
will sign it.
contingently, the town would have to, we would have to
oh,
approve it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, right.
We,
I know you're being facetious, but just, it's on the record, so, right.
So you came here looking to ask the select board to approve the
Yes,
$2,500
authority.
and the contract, and that's what we're approving.
I believe you people are gonna be signing the contract anyways. nobody
Yes.
else
Yeah.
can
Yes.
anyway.
probably be,
They sometimes authorize
Brendan,
myself or the chair.
Brendan, last comment,
We wanna-
question?
and we have to put this into context of the scope of the purchase that we'd be making, and this will change the landscape of our community. I mean, this will take.
Well, let's just talk about the contract.
Yeah,
Okay,
we're talking
that's-
about the
I
contract.
mean, I'll write the deposit check myself.
right.
That's how
Okay.
strongly I
Okay,
feel.
that takes
right,
care of the
okay.
financing of the deposit, okay,
It's not that big of a deal.
okay.
Okay, so,
Okay,
That's a motion.
any comment from the audience, further comment? Further comment with anybody else?
Thank you.
Okay, and then I'll take a vote, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Brendan, you in favor?
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor, thank you.
Get your checkbook out.
Richard, thank you so much, we appreciate it, okay? Okay, we're gonna,
Nice, Richard, nice job, thank you.
Thank you very much.
you have to be available when we present this to community too, you know that.
And so we are gonna,
I'm still kicking.
Okay, right.
so we're gonna put this presentation on our website, hopefully, if it wouldn't go on an email. Probably not this evening.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Gentlemen,
gentlemen.
thank you so much, okay.
See you,
bye-bye.
Dave. Don't forget your phone.
well, it took quite a while. Yeah,
The secondary one took more than the primary.
Yeah.
Okay,
let's put also on
moving
this.
right along. Town managers.
So the first item you referenced just a bit earlier, the select board is interested in sending out an opinion survey. And at the last meeting, you asked that the DRB and Planning Commission be involved, or at least provide us some input. They both met last week and both did review the proposed questions, the questions the select board had from our last meeting. DRB didn't have a lot of comments to make. The planning commission, however, you should have in your packets a little memo about, we had a lot of discussion, so don't let that lead you to think they didn't have a lot and didn't think about it carefully, but this is what we distilled their points down to. So right now, we just need to hear from you as to which questions you would like to include, or did you want me to just send them to Michael Mosier, who's helping us, and see what he can do with it?
If I could, speak to the planning commission's memo, having been there. Just run through those points very quickly. We thought that having questions based on preference can be pretty tricky, because trying to gauge people and asking them to rank things 1 through 5, or we thought that could get difficult, and we would like to use maybe a price or a cost index on a scale instead of a preference level, if applicable. We did not like the question about which growth center the community preferred growth be attributed to. We felt that we've got a north end and a south end growth center, and to try to distinguish the two with a survey was not a good idea. So we wanted to ask the select board, and ultimately our attorneys if need be, if the water and sewer question should be eliminated. We did not want to create an opportunity for the survey information to be used by entities such as the city and their litigation team against us in our legal proceedings. Then there were a couple of school system questions. We felt that it's not necessarily the place of the town as a municipality to ask questions that the Maple Run Unified School District should probably be asking if they want the information. We felt that in regards to MS4 and a stormwater utility, it might be best to put a scope of an annual fee so as to not leave the financial piece up to the imagination for the utility. We've had it under our hats that we were thinking, under $100 for a single family home, so. And then we felt that it might be worth adding an education level question, so as to correlate that information
What do you
with
mean by
census data.
education level?
Highest level of
You
education.
mean a demographic question?
Right.
Yes.
That would all be part of it.
But that was it. So,
It might be worthwhile, can you summarize those comments in an email?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Any other comments from folks?
When was the original survey done? 10 years, 15 years ago?
12, 13 years ago.
2005.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
understand it was
2005,
pretty
somewhere around there,
effective,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We sent
It
the
was a good one?
It was excellent,
Yeah.
excellent.
Did we use them, Bill, for anything?
Yeah, they used them for guidance on some things, yeah.
I liked the way it
Yeah.
formatted the original survey.
Yep. So the idea is to let the group, the professionals, look at these and come up with how to structure questions and so on.
Okay.
And then we can call general areas. We have to decide among ourselves whether we want to get community input on water, wastewater. I would think if the community felt strongly one way or another, we'd like to know about it.
Right.
Regarding the school issues, that's none of our business, so to speak, other than as citizens. And
We get enough blame
and they have their own legal authority and so
on taxes.
Right.
One exception, though, just to play it off you, would, in terms of if we want to attract businesses, should we ask some type of question regarding technical education? Would the community be willing to, I know we're crossing the border over into the school system, But I think, well, I just think personally, if we want to be attractive to small entrepreneurs, what have you, we've got to have an ability to have trained employees, particularly the kids coming out of school now.
We're gonna ask that question. I think it should be done in concert with Maple Run. They should know about
Let
it
them
before
do
we
it, ask
ask.
them to do it.
Well, we can ask it as part of our survey package.
That's a whole real
I know.
separate issue between economic development, opportunities, and what you need to do it. and
Yeah, I
training.
understand
It's-
that.
I think it's a little beyond our scope at
Right.
this stage.
Right.
I'm not saying it's not
I don't
important.
think we should be getting
Take
into
jobs
Maple Run
where they
But
business.
the demographic
We're talking about
outline of the
political.
people who respond will give us an idea of what our community looks like. So if we get into the hands of the professionals, let them do a good rough cut, then we can go back and start focusing it on our own.
I have one question that I would just like to eliminate before we even send it. That's elected versus appointed town clerk. I don't think that's worth asking. at this point.
I Xed that out. That shouldn't be part of it. We've already Xed it out in our priorities.
Right.
So we can eliminate that one.
Could I also ask that we maybe consider sending our water and sewer related questions to our attorneys to see if there's any possibility of any possible answers or results of the survey that could be used against us?
Let's see what questions, if any, come up. And, you obviously don't want to put yourself in a position where you're obligated to do or not do something. So
When is the survey going to be held?
as soon as we can get it moving.
Because the court is going to try to make a decision by September, because before the judge moves on.
Well, we don't know.
We
that,
hope, but
yeah.
we're not, I don't think we should let that decide what we're going to do on the survey itself.
Yeah, certainly you want a true answer from the public.
Yeah, it's straight opinion, it's not,
Pardon?
it's opinion, it's not legally binding, nothing like that,
Yeah, I understand that. I just,
so.
It was supposed to be done this summer. We really wanted to get it done by, say, August or September. That was our goal. But I don't know how long, if I give him all this stuff tomorrow, how long he'll take to get back to
Yeah.
us. But he anticipated having an extra person this summer, which is why we were kind of rushing.
That's right, yeah, so for them, it's,
What do you want tonight, Bill, from us?
no, just to say, let's send this off to let them come back and hammer something out from what
Yeah,
we're
and
telling
to
them.
let us know, I didn't hear anything, if there's any objections to some of the things the planning commission had suggested, or if you've reread some of the other points, need to know that now, otherwise I'm gonna send this,
Yep.
compile it in an organized manner and send it to Michael
No, it's-
and his assistant. I don't remember what
Okay.
her name is.
Actually, I didn't think we were gonna come up with this many questions. There's a lot of questions.
Well, it may be too long. maybe.
Yeah, you
That
have
is-
to.
This
There's
is-
a lot
this
there.
is- This is, give it a shot, see what happens. They may come back and say, you're crazy,
I mean, to me,
Yeah.
if somebody asked me to take a survey,
Nobody's gonna take
I look at the survey, and if it's a 2-page survey, I say, well, later.
Well, anyway, we'll take you off the list.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so the next item is the Assistant Animal Control Officer. I mean, we did some social media outreach and received about four or five actual emails of interest.
Wow.
Boiled it down to one person. A couple of them never responded again, so they weren't necessarily too eager, but, and we discussed, and we actually, not Alan, I'm looking at Alan.
David.
Dave and I met with Matt
Marcia, so?
yeah, I always say his last name wrong. And seems like a really good candidate. He's eager to do it, but for all the right reasons. He lives in town, knows someone who does this in Swanton, so actually has been on a call, so he's not scared away yet. And is gonna start, so I hired him, to start working with Dave for a month to see if it'll work out, if it's what he was planning on.
Good.
So that we will have a backup to Dave when Dave's out of town.
What else does he do to keep body and soul together, do you know?
He has a daytime job.
Taxidermist.
I don't exactly know what he works, he's a warehouse
Giving him raw
manager.
materials, right?
Yeah, warehouse manager in town, so
All right,
during the
okay.
daytime, he'll be busy, but available to answer calls on the nights and weekends, which is usually when we get most of our calls, so.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Good
that,
deal.
so people will
Good.
probably see someone accompanying David. He's probably gonna do something, we're having him do an occasional walkthrough of the park, the dog park and the Bay
Getting
Park.
his shots and all that stuff is,
Yes, we are going to do that, but we're gonna do that after the initial period to see if it
Okay.
works out for everybody. They're expensive and not necessarily enjoyable, so we were gonna wait
okay.
a little bit for that. But if someone sees somebody else with David, it's Matt. I have just a commercial to make on the farmer's market. I don't know if Alan wants to add to it. We had our kickoff of our farmer's market last week on Wednesday. They are gonna be, at the Bay Park Wednesdays from 5 to 8. And a number of people showed up. The residents were, the vendors were very happy. Do you wanna add anything?
We had 22 vendors signed up, 18 were there this past Wednesday. One I knew was gonna be missing because they're only doing every other week. One I found out, she just had a newborn, so it's a little hard to show up after having a newborn. A couple I'm reaching out to. But all the vendors seemed very excited and happy. There was a steady flow of people walking constantly through the whole market that evening. There wasn't like a downtime. And I just picked up another vendor that'll be starting this Wednesday. So, as long as the weather stays good, and I think it's gonna work out good.
You know, I went down, and I gotta admit, you couldn't have asked for a better night. And I think it was well put together, well planned, and I wanna personally thank you, Alan. You did a very good job on that. And I can see where it's not gonna do nothing but get bigger.
Years to come.
You did. What a
Yeah, no,
nice
it's-
evening it was down there.
Any sense of the economic benefit to the vendors?
Yeah, there's a gentleman that does custom tables, and they're beautiful works of art, but they're a little on the pricey side, but he actually had sold a couple units that evening, had taken in a couple extra orders, and had a customer wants them to go to their place and look at doing a countertop. That's just one vendor. Every vendor there said that they were profitable for the evening and look forward to the rest of the season.
Did you make a mention about the chainsaw?
Leclerc, yeah, there's contribution.
Yeah.
Mark Leclerc is a town resident. He has a booth. He's going to be missing the middle part of the market. He goes on vacation, but he's donated one of his sculptures to the town. And starting this farmer's market, we will be selling raffle tickets for the entire season. And at the last farmer's market, we'll raffle off that sculpture. But he donated it, and all the proceeds will go towards the bathhouse. That's what he wanted to do.
Well, I think the lady with the maple cotton candy deserves a blue ribbon.
It's good stuff.
Is that saying you had some?
I did. It was great.
All right, and so in your packets, the last part of my report, I don't have any other new things to discuss. You had a bunch of updates, both from Alan, DPW, the manager update, and stormwater from Ned, which was the summary showing the funding sources and then the schedules that he's going to follow to keep each project hopefully on schedule. Although he said the ERP schedules were a little more flexible than the ones from regional planning,
Yeah.
which were the other.
So that's this one?
That's the summary of
All
the grants, or the 5 projects that we have right now that we've received grants for.
Is this next too? This is,
That was the schedule.
yeah. Only problem I have with this is, I'm kind of a stickler on end dates.
Yes.
I don't see an end date on any one of them.
It's at the end of the line, isn't it?
The end dates,
It doesn't say it on the chart.
well, in each project, it has dates on it.
Or
So
project
if you travel-
completion date.
Pardon?
the completion date, for instance, on the first one, that says Franklin County Home Health, ERP, so potentially in the black, you have major conception, media engineering, and then you go to the next page, has dates along the top, so that's what or on the back, I'm sorry. So it's-
Any
So final meeting for that one, for instance, is December 10th of 2018.
Yeah, it doesn't state project completion dates, I don't know. When you do it, whenever I do a schedule,
So
I do plenty of them like
Yep.
this.
Yep.
I always have a specific,
So instead of saying final performance report and the final meeting,
Where?
you'd like it to say end
Somewhere.
completion?
okay, then I stand corrected, I'm sorry. 100% project inspection, it's not completion date,
All right.
Okay.
okay?
Mine
Yep.
says completion.
Project completion
completion inspection.
inspection.
Yeah,
Gotcha,
it doesn't
gotcha.
say, it doesn't say that.
So the assumption is it's completed by then.
That's
It's an
correct.
assumption.
Right, not always right. The only comment I have is I'd like to see a little summary of what we're doing in each of these things. You know, it's Franklin County ERP, just a little summary of what work's involved. I mean, exactly what the project is. I mean, there's a lot of space to put it in.
Okay.
And to that degree, I wonder if he has enough time, or whether, put it the other way, whether we need to hire a project manager to oversee this.
I don't know, it's a discussion I could have with him. It's starting to, I think, get, well, I mean, I'm hoping once the town plan's done and the impact fee thing is done, we open up more time, but right now he's busy. And he's also writing a grant this month for the health path, so.
I guess I still ask the question.
Yeah, I know,
Of
it's a
him.
good question.
I also thought we were going to have DPW do a lot of this work.
That's true.
And we're heavily loaded in Allen's busiest time. And heading to the winter months.
Right.
So either he's gotta hire a lot of new people to stay abreast of this, or
Some of the work,
dates gotta change, or something
yeah.
is not gonna. Were you involved in these end dates? No?
Honestly, Ned hasn't really approached me on any of these.
Well, it's,
And you're doing the projects?
well, some of them, only, not the whole project, but parts of them.
Well, even parts
Right.
of them. I mean,
Right.
he's got a schedule to keep too.
Yep, I understand that.
that was
Well-
one of my concerns.
Yep.
It looks like the town, over that 2-year period, our share would be 105,000 if the prices are good.
And they're a little high, just to be safe, that's how we.
That's all right if they're
Right,
a
that's
little
how we-
high, but
Right,
usually they'll run higher, especially at that time of the year. I hate to get, something to look at with an end date that I'm looking at, and I feel that you should complete something you say you're gonna do.
You have to have the resources to do it.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
And you gotta
exactly.
plan your resources, it's all part of the management of it. Okay, I'll say no more.
Bill's doing a little study in
Just
here.
studying, I mean, it's virtually all grant money.
The grants are limited too, right? Typical 2-year grant or,
That's correct, yeah, the time frame at the contract end date coincides with the grant.
Not virtually half grant money.
And some of these projects, like the MS4, like around the hospital, or, I mean, he's mentioned some of that.
A couple of them are large, a couple of them are digging something out and changing the outflow, so the scope of work is different on each one.
And he's only talked to me a little bit on stuff, not into detail.
I'm not sure we have all the equipment to do that. I think we may have to contract that out.
Which part?
Well, cleaning out that pond up at the hospital.
Oh, yeah, no, so, I mean, we're all talking about 5 different projects that are all different,
I
so
know.
the one at NMC, we didn't believe we could do.
Oh,
It's
okay.
much larger than we could do. Some of the other ones are a little smaller.
Yeah, so I hope he took a look at the project and the sizes of the
Yes.
projects, and then, in his own mind, what, took on what he thought we could
Well,
manage.
we could drill down on that and then have him come to a meeting and he
That'd be the
can
right
answer
thing to do.
questions.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna try to, I don't wanna
Right.
make up answers.
No.
All right?
You're gonna look and find out when, if the board said we were going on private property to do these. I hate to go in and tear somebody's backyard up and be responsible.
Well, I mean, what the select board decided last year is gonna be different. They can't really bind what you as a board are looking for now. If you have an MOU, you're gonna have to review the MOU and decide if you would agree.
It was something I remember in that one neighborhood where we plowed the streets for a while, then we stopped.
Yep.
Then people were upset, and we said, no, we're not going on private property.
Right.
Then we got another whole development that we won't go into, and now they see us doing something on private property.
Well, there's a couple issues that were combined there. One of them is the road, and we won't plow private roads, but this
Let's
would be
clean
done.
those up, and
Yeah.
then we'll do it.
Well, I mean, this would be done with a memo, a legal binding memo for both parties.
Okay then.
So that's it under town manager's report for me. Public comment, I guess. Next.
Was there anything you wanted from Alan on the updated pending list?
Yeah, question, yeah, Alan, let's see,
He's still here.
so this Church Road culvert, you didn't get the grant.
No, we're on the border. We just had the structure grant last year. I applied for it, but I didn't get it this year.
Okay.
And I think at the last meeting, you hadn't received the paving grant, but since then you did? And
We did,
That's
we did
good.
get the paving grant. It was questionable. We closed the last select board meeting, but we have gotten it.
Good.
It's 168,000.
Wow. Wow.
Fantastic.
Very good.
So to that end, we revised the paving plan this year a little.
Exactly.
What have you added?
Excuse me?
What have you added?
We added Brigham Road. The grants can only be for class 2 roads.
Okay.
So I applied for Brigham Road. It did have, on the south side of the railroad track, a lot of damaged cracks and dips, so that seemed like the appropriate road to put a grant in for. I did change the paving list this year. I've X'd the industrial park again. I got a call from Duke Construction in Ireland's up there, and I did a site visit. And I didn't realize that they were putting a sidewalk from the railroad tracks all the way to Ben and Jerry's this year. And the way, if you look at Peerless side of the industrial park, it has a steep in-bank. So they're hauling in a lot of fill and cutting that bank, so the excavators would be on the edge of the road. And I didn't want our new asphalt getting ripped up, so I've postponed it. So I did away with that section, and we're gonna do all of Hathaway Point Road,
Oh, good.
so.
Okay.
Yep, those-
You know, I dedicated my weekend to cleaning up my property, and I was over to the stump dump 2 or 3 times this weekend, and that was one busy place. I mean, I thought about that with the new DPW and everything, and wondering if those services were still gonna be available to the town, if we were still gonna have an area to do that. Because, boy, I'll tell you what, and I talked to one guy that was unloading a lot of brush. He said, boy, you don't know how grateful I am. He says, I work all week. It was Sunday afternoon. And he said, normally on Sundays, you can't do this because you got no place to take it. He said, boy, he said, thank the people at the town. He said, this is great.
Yeah, that's something we have to look at, because burning becomes an issue when the pile gets too big.
Yeah.
And there's no way to really, once you get a pile that size, you got a lot of hot coals for quite a few days
Yeah.
smoldering.
Well, a lot of people that appreciated it over there this weekend, I'll tell you that. And I'm one of them. I had 3 loads.
Yeah. Well, getting rid of brush is a something the state's cracked down on. You can't put them in your regular landfills anymore.
Landfill charges now too.
So everything has to be chipped and tried to give it away as mulch or whatever.
Anyways,
How big a
Hey.
problem is that then on an annual basis?
Excuse me?
How big a problem is that on an annual basis?
It's huge.
Should we buy a chipper?
What's that?
Should we buy a chipper?
We have a chipper, but it's too small of a chipper to keep up with the amount of brush coming in. I mean, we had that burned down totally, and you go in there now and it's a huge pile again. So I'm looking to reach out to the companies that actually chip trees and that sell to the McNeil plant.
Yeah.
And my suggestion would be down the road is maybe we have a cement slab out there, a clean place with the wood to be stacked on, and maybe a couple times a year have them come in and chip. And keep
chip
the chips.
what everybody's dropping off, you mean?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, we'd have to be real careful with keeping the leaves and grass cuttings out of the tree part, because you have a lot of people bringing in sod in that, and that mixes
Yeah.
in, which causes it not to burn, and
Yeah.
they wouldn't be able to chip that and keep clean wood
It
and
could be
brush.
quite a job.
It would be. So, I mean, that's something we really have to look at going down the road.
But the environmental regulations are just gonna become more and more stringent.
Yes.
So I think we have to look at alternate options.
The city's finding out for sure themselves. They had a state-run dump site, and they're not allowed to put any stumps or trees down in there anymore. So, you know, they're looking to give the wood away and try chipping their brush and whatnot. So that's a situation that all towns and cities are gonna run into.
Wow, things are changing. Wow.
Okay.
Any other
Okay.
questions?
You want to do your schedule?
Yep. So our next meeting is Monday, June 18th, and Monday, July 2nd. The 4th of July is on a Wednesday this week. We're going to be closed that day. Bay Day is Saturday, June 30th, with a rain date being that Sunday. So they're going to do the Great Race in the morning, and the rest of Bay Day, hopefully, weather permitting, will happen that evening. My question for the select board is, July 16th happens right after, the 4th of July week is usually a slow week for many people, and I'm gone that following week. So I'd like to move that July 16th meeting to July 23rd. There are 5 Mondays that month, so just push it forward 1 week.
You wanna take us with you?
No. So sorry. I thought about it. Let me think about it longer. So I didn't know if there's any conflicts. It's still a Monday.
It's fine with me.
I can do it.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's fine.
Yep.
Okay.
And we have the workplace training a week from tomorrow.
Correct. Tuesday, June 12th.
Okay. So entertain a motion to go into executive session to discuss some personnel and policy issues. Somebody mind making that motion? Or I can make it subject to all of this verbiage. And nothing to it, it's really, make a motion to discuss legal, personnel issues under the provision of Title I, Section 313 of the Vermont statutes, and to invite in the town manager. I don't expect any action to come of this, but if it does, it will be made in public domain. There's no one here, it will be written up. All those in favor, indicate by saying aye.
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 Okay. Head upstairs.